it going, everybody? This is Rob of Novakast, back with another, let's just get started, shall we? I don't want to waste more time than I already have to with this crap. This is chapter 13. Okay, we are nearly done with this bullshit. Okay. I find myself floating. Soft clouds touched my skin, but I couldn't feel a thing. Julie said, "I'm so cold, Daniel," as she held my hand, floating thousands of feet above the ground right next to me. I replied, "How about now?" She smiled quickly. "It's gone completely." I smiled with her. I asked, "Where do you want to go?" Julie replied, "Anywhere, really. We should visit my home at some point." My ability to make her comfortable, to change her physical body so she could feel whatever she desires, to make her dreams come true. Her happiness was mine. Without hesitation, I flew us towards Julie's house. Initially, Julie's body kind of dangled behind mine, as she had no ability to keep up as I soared through the air. Flying thousands of miles per hour was not simple, even with the ability I gave her. There were a couple points where Julie's pants fell down, but I simply fabricated new ones. At one point, she said, "If you can just make them with your mind, why not make pants that don't fall when we fly?" I laughed. Julie's parents weren't too fond of me. I snatched their daughter away without notice or any hint of our desire. The unannounced return couldn't possibly be received well. Landing softly in her driveway, Julie immediately pulled her shoelace out of her shoe and tied it around her waist. I smirked and asked, "How are you going to keep your shoes on when we fly?" She replied quickly, "We're not flying." Interrupting Julie, an axe flew past my shoulder, smacking the ground a number of feet behind me. The scream sounded off from Julie's house. It was her father, with his wrinkled up face and angry eyebrows. He yelled, "You're a dead man. Where's my daughter?" He stumped out and immediately lost his footing when Julie yelped, "Hello, Dad." The man tripped to his knees right in front of me. He was incredibly choked up and ran over to her, hugging her and saying all the things dads say when magical boys fly their daughters to faraway places without warning and later randomly return them. I feel like this is commentary for his relationship with Lainey. Or Taylor. Kai, whatever they're gonna call themselves in the future. After realizing his daughter was in on running away for a while and that no one was tricked her father into loosening an unwilling daughter, he welcomed me in his house. He didn't apologize for throwing the axe at me, but you could see the apology in his forehead wrinkles when he changed his tone. Julie's mother was equally happy to see her daughter, although, fortunately for me, she saw her daughter first before recognizing that I was in the room. I'm sure I would have been maced, which I likely would feel for at least a second before reprogramming that aspect of my body as well. Yeah, he wish. Okay. There was cornbread cooking in the oven, a noodle dish in the rack above with a salad and raspberry lemonade, to help flush it all down. At dinner, Julia's father had a lot to say about the changes I made to the world, not knowing I played any part of it, or in it. He spouted out, "So women have teeth on their crotches now." In the middle of drinking my lemonade, I tried to swallow without a hiccup. Clearing my throat, I replied, "Yes, I thought that would make sense." Her dad looked concerned. "What do you mean?" "I mean, men have their swords. Women should have their blades too, right?" Julia's father gave me a sarcastic look. "Oh, you're one of those." I giggled slightly and said, "One of," and quickly went silent mid-sentence. In that moment, I saw into his mind. Without even inquiring, I saw all the women he hurt. He had even attacked Julie's friends when she was younger. He was a serial predator, and the moment I realized what he was, he dropped dead, face falling flat in his noodles. As Julia's mother screamed in horror, I sat there frozen, angry with myself, angry with society, angry with the world that was still broken. I changed the future, but the people from the past, they all remained regardless of the things they had done. Snapping out of my thoughts, I saw Julia staring at me, tears running down her face, eyes turning red with a mixture of sadness and anger. She saw everything about her father, and I had just seen. She invaded my mind as soon as she realized I was not reacting to her father's death whatsoever. She projected her thoughts into my head seconds after I made eye contact with her. Julie did not want me there. She understood why I did what I did, but she also just lost her father and couldn't process everything with me around. Upon realizing I was not welcome, using the black rock in my skull, I materialized a dark coffin, one any family would be proud of. Seconds passed and the coffin was complete, so I dropped it in the middle of the front room. Inside the coffin, I left enough money to more than compensate the household for the loss of its primary breadwinner. Her mother screamed again, only this time with a coherent command, "Call an ambulance. God, I can't find my phone. Call now." And I replied, "They're on their way." However, I did not use a phone. I simply sent a signal to the brains of the closest medics, but I knew it would not help. I was simply doing it for the mother. She did not need to know the truth about any of this. Such information could cause a person who dedicated their whole life to a fraud to fall into a deep depression, possibly leading to them taking their own life. It was tragic enough already that even his daughter had to know the truth about her father. Walking out the front door, I spoke to Julie's mind. "I'm sorry, I'll return when you call for me." But when my words hit her mind, it was like a car falling in water. First an impact, apparent rejection, followed by a slow sinking and absorption of everything that made contact. Overwhelmed with emotion, I sprinted through the trees, the bushes, even fences, breaking everything in my path. My shoes would fall apart, only to be reformed again and again. I would simply design clothing for myself using universal code and would result in no deterioration of anything I wore, despite the stress I subjected it to. but my clothes helped me keep track of how much damage I would be enduring if I was something even remotely close to human anymore. The more I ran, the more I realized I didn't know where I even wanted to go. All I could think about was Julie back at her house, with her mother locked in sorrow. Without thinking about it, I stopped mid-step, landing in the middle of a lake. I sank, so distracted in my thoughts that I didn't bother to fight it. I couldn't see anything underwater. I didn't like the feeling, so I made it clear and pure. I could see for hundreds of feet now. So many things cast aside, boots, boats, endless trash. Thinking about Julie, in the cold depths of the water, I felt warmth. I was becoming hopeless. I knew I could change that in an instant, but to do so would be to lose meaning, to become someone who truly has nothing to lose and no one to love. Hours passed, so I thought about where I should go, what the point would even be if me going somewhere, and I decided I wanted to return to the life I knew. My curiosity and sense of obligation to my family seemed to be my only remaining ties to my identity. I needed to return to my home. Landing in my mom's rock and dirt yard behind her condo, I walked in the sliding door. The locks appeared for me without much consideration. No door was truly closed to me. Mom, Joanna, I yelled. Life would be easier for me if I simply programmed them where to be and when, but that would take away the whole purpose of my life. I didn't want to bring myself back to the abomination I found myself living in while recovering in the nurse's office. My sister yelled out, "Daniel," ran up and hugged me. "Hey," I said as she hugged me. I added, "Mom isn't home?" And before she could answer, I already had all the info I needed. She replied, about to put up my finger to silence her, as I had already downloaded everything I missed. I said, "So Mom has been dating around? No luck yet, huh?" Joanna replied, "So you're still a freak. Cool." That night, my sister and I played video games, or at least tried. She quit shortly after saying she was bored. It was typical among siblings, both wanting to hang out with the idea of their brother or sister, neither wanting to hang out with the actual person who was their brother or sister. Okay. My mom returned late that night. She was partially drunk when she saw me, but sober enough to know who I was and that I was gone for some time, staring at me for only a moment. As she came through the door without a word, she walked off to her room. My mom still hadn't gotten over her eyes and what I did to them. She hadn't gotten over anything I had done. I left the condo immediately after. I have always hated being where I'm unwanted. If people are better off without me, then I'm better off gone. My next destination was where I spent most of my childhood, the creek, the small square house, the abduction site, landing in the middle of my old yard. I could see my mom's house still, had not sold. It was a problem I could fix. In an instant, the documents signed themselves for the sale of the house. The money transferred itself, and just like that, it all belonged to me. Before walking into the moonlit wood home, I noticed a red glow coming from the creek. A quiet hum of death filled my ears. I could feel the other side calling me. Curiosity consumed my mind. In the morning, I would begin digging up the bodies, but tonight I would lay on my foam mattress next to the raging furnace alone in my tiny old room, in my tiny old house. Oh gosh, I am so glad this is almost fucking over. This has been torture. This has been absolute torture. Alright. One more video, and we're fucking done with this particular piece of crap. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. This is Rob of Novakast signing off. Have a good one, and take care. Peace.